You are listening to The View from Laura's Window, a podcast where life is explored through positive Christian thoughts. Everyone has a window, and each window has a different view. Here, I hope you will find the view to be encouraging, inspirational, and useful as you walk through your daily journey. Sometimes our view may not always be clear or focused, but through this podcast, I hope you can have a much better perspective. So open up your windows, your hearts, and your thoughts to the encouraging view from Laura's perspective. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am Laura, your host, and I am so glad and so thankful that you are here. You know, sometimes I wonder if there is anyone out there listening. And believe it or not, on this small, tiny podcast, there are people out there listening. And I received one of the best messages this past week. She sent me a message and she posted on Facebook, and she let me know how much my words mean to her. And she listens to me on her way to work, and I had no idea. And for that, I appreciate you, Elizabeth. I call you Lizzie. I've known you ever since you were a baby, and now you are a beautiful woman, and I appreciate your words. They have done more for me than you will ever know. So thank you. And I hope that this podcast does the same for you. I hope that each week when I post something, that some of the words, anything, and I just hope that a scripture or something that I've said or shared means something to you, and it makes a difference. Today's episode number 44 is called Don't Lose Hope, the Fog Will Lift. And with the weather, the way it has been lately, and with the devastation that is happening throughout the world, and particularly this past weekend in Nashville with the tornado hitting, people's lives have been turned upside down. Their possessions are gone. People have lost their lives. They're gone. Some are still missing and not found yet. And it just is so sad that things like this happen. You know, my husband and I were there this past weekend. Actually, we were there that Saturday at an event there in Nashville. We went to a show, and the show let out about 10:30. We were leaving the Ryman Theater at 10:30 and heading to our car. And, you know, I actually took a picture of the sky and of the different things that was there. It's such a beautiful scene there. And if you've never been to Nashville, it's beautiful with the different buildings, and especially the AT&T building that catches your eye. They call it the Batman building. And every time I go there, I try to get a different shot on my camera of it. In the distance, you can see the sky behind it. It's such a huge building, and it just looms over everything and everyone there. And that night I took a picture, and the sky was just overwhelmingly dark. And it was just sprinkling a little bit of rain, and we hadn't heard anything about the weather becoming what had happened. We had no idea when we were walking to our car and heading home. And we were about 2.5 hours away from home. And sure enough, we had heard on our way home that the tornado was heading towards Nashville. And our son lives there. And of course, we sent him a text to let him know. And, you know, that tornado hit so fast and so quick, and it just tore up so many people's lives that they weren't expecting to happen. And you know, that's how it is. Things happen so quickly in our lives. And today I want to talk about what do we do when things like that happen, and how do we handle it? And it's called Don't Lose Hope, the Fog Will Lift. And I read a quote once that said, faith is like radar that sees through the fog the reality of things at a distance that the human eye cannot see. And all of us, at one time or another, have driven through a thick fog or some kind of fog. And my husband and I did this past weekend while driving home from Nashville just before the tornado hit. And sometimes there were patches. There's patches where we drive through and we come out of quickly on the other side. But then, for a moment, you have those long, anxious moments that we find ourselves coming upon a thick white fog where everything else around us just makes it disappear. And the fog came up on us that night so fast, we really had no time to prepare. And that's how life can become, a thick, dense fog all around us, causing us to not see what's ahead. No visible guidelines to even focus on. And sometimes when that happens, anxiety can set in and even panic. So what do? Well, what we did, and what I think probably most people do when you hit that fog, we flick on the high beams thinking that it's going to help us get through. But all it does is cause the whiteness to become even thicker. So maybe all we really need to do is keep the light steady and just go slow and look for the focal points and guide us. They'll help guide us through the path. Life is much the same, isn't it? When the fog blocks our view. And when I say fog, I mean the messy stuff, the hard stuff, those things that are tough, those distractions and disappointments that block our view. So when that happens, when life's fog blocks our view and we cannot see which direction to go, I think we need to look up and focus on the one who will guide us. Lift our eyes and trust the path that we're on when we're on our way through that fog. Don't lose hope. The fog will lift. And even though we say we have faith, we have hope, even though we do that and we feel that and we know that, we will always have pain and suffering in our lives while living on this side of heaven. But while we are in the midst of that fog, I think we need to look to God for the strength, the patience, and the endurance that we need. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." I think that if we are going to succeed in anything, we have to focus. And that focus can and should be on Jesus, who is the leader and the source of our faith. So if you get anything out of today's words, I want you to think this: don't lose hope. The fog will lift. And I am praying constantly for those that have lost loved ones in this tornado, those that have lost possessions and they think that they have lost everything that they have in life. They haven't. There is much more ahead. There is so much more to focus on. I know it's hard and it's going to be hard. Everything that we do here on earth is hard. It is not going to be easy. But I think we need to focus on God and look up when that fog hits. And I just want you to know I love you guys. So until next time, love you and have a good rest of your week.